Welcome everybody. This is the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform community call. This is the Tuesday call happening 8 a.m. every single Tuesday, where we typically have Microsoft speakers. So this is the dedicated one for Microsoft, and then on Thursdays we typically have more community speakers. Every now and then we kind of slip that rule away, depending on the topics as well. Now, my name is Vesa Juvonen. I'm a principal product manager in Microsoft 365 platform areas, and I'll be your host today. Now, today we have a really unfortunate change on the agenda. This came 2 minutes before the call started, so that's why I needed to actually stop sharing and do the small edit, modification there. So unfortunately, the topic related on deep diving in the science behind Power Automate Copilot has been cancelled. Something came up, and we cannot unfortunately do that. So Seb, you will have 40 minutes or so to do a really long demos, so no pressure, but you can start extending things. Just kidding. We can close early as well, and we can do Q&A in the end as well, so all good. So these things do happen, and we adjust based on that. But we'll start with the latest updates and news on the Microsoft 365 platform and Power Platform as well, and we cover the latest news across the Microsoft blogs. We'll share those in the chats, and then we do the group picture with Together mode. Now, by the way, for next week, we already have 3 demos queued up, and I'm expecting that to be completely fine. But let's see, things happen, we adjust. Now, coming back on the topics and agendas and news, we do always show some of these slides. We do understand that it might be a repeating thing for you, but there's always new people within these calls, and we're getting that feedback also in our surveys that it's great that we are recapping the baseline of functionalities and assets. Now, this is a really great slide on covering what's available for you to get started and what are the centralized locations to get videos, start discussions, get access on samples and all of that stuff. And there's quite a lot of URLs to remember. All of these are getting aggregated or are also surfaced in AKMS/community/home. Now, related on community calls, we do have quite a few of these community calls, and this is the Tuesday, 8 a.m. Pacific time, every single Tuesday with Microsoft presenters, except on summertime, where we will go for a break because we will probably have a bit more difficulties on filling in the demo slots. So we'll have the last community call on Tuesday, next Tuesday, 27th of June, and then we'll be back on 22nd of August. Why on 22nd and not on 1st of September or after that? Well, I don't know. I just decided that it's 22nd of August, just for fun. We'll do a blog post and communications on this as well, and we'll update the AKMS address, which is pointing, which you most likely clicked when you joined the call, point to a page where we're saying that we are on summer vacation, just letting everybody know that the call is out, and we'll be back in August 22nd. Now, the rest of the calls will still continue executing throughout the summer as well. So we have the Power Platform and Office Analyst monthly community calls, and we have our Thursday 7 a.m. Pacific time series. It's either the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform community call or the Viva Connection and SharePoint Framework community call. Every single Thursday, 7 a.m. Pacific time, either one of those calls. Now, you can download recurrent invites at AKMS/community/calls. From there, you'll get the ICS things. And also, our meetup is actually growing a lot of momentum as well. So if you're wondering always on, okay, so what is the agenda for next week, or what is the agenda for tomorrow's call, or what's the agenda on day after, you can actually see those in the meetup service. And when you sign up for the meetup, you will get all of the agenda details as when we are publishing in email. So it's a really convenient way of accessing that information as well. Now, we said that a lot of the community call demos are being presented by the community because we really want to embrace the community. This is community presenting for the community, Microsoft being part of the community as well. We welcome you to do the demos in these calls, and it's a great opportunity to gain, let's say, visibility, showcase what you built, get some practice first in, and then maybe go to the in-person conferences and start presenting in there. Everybody is welcome. If you don't feel that you have the experience, will help you. We even have a presenter buddy system available, which can help you on learning to be a better presenter within the calls. So everybody is welcome to do demos. Please sign up using that AKMS/community/request a demo. Now, we do have also a lot of assets available for getting started in Microsoft 365 and Power Platform, because you would be using these in a consumption or together with Power Platform as well. So you can sign up for the Microsoft 365 Developer Program. That's a free program, and you'll get a free tenant, which will automatically renew as long as you use it for developer purposes in every single 90 days. There's also a lot of material available in Microsoft Learn, free material and training material available, which you can use to learning how to start extending the Microsoft Cloud. We also have a lot of podcasts and shows available for you to take advantage. We have the My PMP Weekly, which will actually be on a summer break starting this week and will be coming back on August. We have the Microsoft community at Microsoft Mondays at Microsoft, hosted by Caruana and Heather, happening on bi-weekly on Mondays in LinkedIn. We have the Power Platform Connections, hosted by David Warner and Hugo Bernier. And then we have our Microsoft 365 Developer Podcast, hosted by Jeremy Fake, Aisha Bass, and Paul Schaffelin. Now, related on the samples and assets which are available, we have a lot of them. We have like 1,611 samples right now available from our unified sample gallery, and it is growing. So you'll find samples which are related on Microsoft Graph Toolkit, scripting, PowerShell, SharePoint Framework, Microsoft Teams bots, and many other things as well. So you can easily access all of the samples contributed by Microsoft and community from a one centralized location. So do take advantage of that. Now, as you find a sample, you might be wondering, okay, so what do I do now? This is GitHub, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that. And that's why we have our Sharing is Caring initiative, where we cover those kind of questions. David is going to do a quick intro on what this is all about.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Vesa. Well, friends, we're finally getting ramped up with all the volunteers that have reached out. These are sessions that provide live, hands-on guidance in a safe space scenario. We know that it's been challenging to get them scaled up lately, but that's why we've been getting the help of the community. Another win for you all. Thank you so much. We have gotten a number of inquiries to volunteer, but we are looking for more, and we are getting those scheduled. So please don't hesitate to keep an eye out at ak.ms/sharingiscaring for those schedules. And if you want to help run them or assist in the background, we would love that. ak.ms/sharingiscaring/volunteer to let us know, and we'll be sending out those invites here shortly. Vesa, back to you.
Excellent. Thank you, David, on that one. Really cool to have this one progressing as well. Now, related on community and where we can meet up across the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform community. First of all, EduCon is 365 EduCon is happening. The next one is happening in Seattle in August 21st to 25th. The DC one was last week at the Washington DC, and the Chicago is happening in October 13th to November 3rd. That's a great opportunity to meet other community members and Microsoft employees in person. This week we also have the European Power Platform Conference from Dublin. You might have heard that the typical sound and the audio which David uses as he's calling in from LA with his radio show was sounded a bit different. That's because he's calling directly from Dublin. He's in person at the Dublin this week from 20th to 22nd of June. You can still make it. Today was the pre-workshop day. Tomorrow the actual conference starts, and you can still actually join and fly to the Dublin and join the conference. So please do that and take advantage of that opportunity. Now, we also have a lot of other community events available. Some of these have a cost. Some of them are free. Some of them are in person. Some of them are remote. You'll find all of these at communitydays.org and with the details where they're located, when it's happening, and how do you register, and how do you access the other community members. So really great site, a centralized location to get access on all of the in-person and remote community events. Now, last week we had a lot of news across the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform areas. I'm not going to actually walk through all of this because that would take too much time, and there is no point on that. So I will actually copy-paste all of the news in the chat whenever I'm able to actually get them. Interesting that the presentation mode doesn't allow me to copy the notes. That's interesting. Maybe David can help me if he has the presentation open. If nothing else, as Seb starts his demo, I will copy paste the links on all of this news within the chat. Thank you, David, for accessing the information. A lot of cool stuff is happening every single day across the Microsoft Cloud. So a great way of staying up to date is to subscribe on these blog posts. Now, before we go to the actual demo of today, not demos, unfortunately, a demo of today, let's do a quick group photo, and I will set up the things in here. I can see Bill already getting ready. Oh, yes, Todd, that's really good. Let's get the guitar in, and let's move it in here. We do have 50 seats in the room. I will not take a seat in there. Let's wait a while. I will open up the recording. Oh, that's really good with the guitar. And let me actually change the scene to something else, something more interesting. That's so boring. I think that is always good. So let's a few more seats in the room. A few more seats. And then it went pixelated. No! What happened? We have few more seats. We're going to record this, and it's a bit pixelated, unfortunately, and no idea what happened there, but let's do some hand waving. We can still show that we're having fun within this auditorium, and I can see still familiar faces in the screen. Thank you, everybody, for joining once again, and please, Bill, no idea what you're doing there. And I can see the guitar on the back row as well. Excellent. Thanks, everybody, for that one. Unfortunately, a bit pixelated. Like I said, when we started, I'm finally getting a fiber in my home pretty soon, so that should actually help on getting that sorted out. Now, let's then go to the actual stars of the day. So if you joined a bit late, you might have missed this. Unfortunately, the planned demo related on deep dive in the science behind Power Platform Automate Copilot has been cancelled. We will get that one rescheduled. Unfortunately, that will mean that it will be rescheduled for the past summer around in August, because we will have a break within these Tuesday calls from start of July until 22nd of August. But Sébastien Levert is on the call, and he's going to actually be have a bit more longer time to talk about what is Microsoft Graph Toolkit and why does it actually matter and why should everybody know about that, right, Seb?
Probably.
Why do you mean probably? Of course, everybody should know about what is Microsoft Graph Toolkit.
I'm joking. No, it's good actually. Today we're gonna go very unscripted. Am I sharing?
No, you're not sharing.
I did share. I promise I shared. And then
Seb is doing a great job in stretching the time for us. Keep it up, Seb.
Yeah,
it's all part
exactly.
Of
yep.
Can you hear me? Can
yes,
you hear me?
We can hear you. We can see the screen. Take it away.
That's good. Awesome. Thanks, Vesa. Thanks, David. So, folks, I'm excited to be here today. When I first started to join these community calls, talking about the Graph Toolkit, that was at least 18 months ago, where we did kind of an owner's tour of all the components, and we discussed afterwards what was going to be next, and we had some sessions around the roadmap. And now, today is the day where we can finally say that we're so close that we have a release candidate out there that you can already try for our last version, or next version, not our last, but our next version of the Microsoft Graph Toolkit, which is our V3 of the Microsoft Graph Toolkit. So we're excited, scared, but excited to be here today. We're going to present all the new capabilities. There's a lot since the last time we came here, so we'd love to show all of that to you all. I don't know if I'll be able to fill all the time, but I'm going to be able to fill more time than needed. That is for sure. That's my big passion here as my role as a PM here at Microsoft. So, latest of the Graph Toolkit. If you're new to the community calls or to the Graph Toolkit, I'd love to give you a little bit of a reminder of what is the Graph Toolkit and what's the value for every developers out there. So the Graph Toolkit is a collection of reusable framework agnostic components and auth provider that allows you to access and work with Microsoft Graph. So think about them as drop-in components that allow any types of web applications to connect seamlessly with Microsoft Graph and render amazing components that are good looking inside your applications. How many times have you been asked to build a people picker or an avatar component, or that you wanted to build, I don't know, some sort of a Teams channel picker to be able to share documents? Like, this happened a lot in the past, where people were reinventing the wheel Well, the Graph Toolkit is there to provide you wheels every time you need them, because we all have these components, and then you can go to your manager and say, hey, look what I built, and you can just use a Graph Toolkit behind the scenes, and you don't tell anybody that you are using these amazing components. The components are fully functional, so you just need to drop them on your app and they work. You don't need to build anything on top of them. They're fully customizable though. So if you want them to be different, if you want them to behave in other ways, if you want them to look different, you can always customize them. And they work with any web framework. You don't have to use React. You don't have to use Angular. You don't have to use Vue. You can use all of them. So all the components are available throughout the entire web ecosystem as we are building them as web components and not as framework-specific components. We offer some wrappers for well-known frameworks, namely React in this case. And one of the demos I'm going to do today will be fully React. And yeah, that will 100% work with React. Looking at the chat, any web framework, does this include, say, SPFX? 100%. Not only it includes SPFX, but we even have some helpers to make you really, really quickly be successful with SPFX and MGT. So you don't have to rebuild authentication. You don't have to rebuild any of that. It's all built within the tool chain that the SharePoint framework is. Same thing with TeamsFX. We also have the same capabilities with TeamsFX, for instance. So let's move on. Why would you use it? Like, okay, we offer these really beautiful functional components, but first you should be using it because it cuts on development time, where you can really focus on your added value rather than building the same component over and over. And it's literally just a couple lines of code. And for some of our components, a majority of our components, it's actually one line of code. They're beautiful, but they're flexible. They look a lot like M365. So if you build apps that are integrated in one of our hubs, think about Outlook, Office.com, Teams, SharePoint, they will look pretty much the same way that the rest of the suite looks like. But if you want to bring this experience inside your app, well, you can customize it and make it look really how you need it to be. And finally, it works everywhere. We're based on web standards. So you can use it in the browser. You can use it on a mobile device. You can even use it. We even have providers for Electron, right? Electron is something that can allow you to build web applications, that's web applications, but desktop applications with web technology. So that is actually pretty cool. So now, what is new? I'm not going to go through what all the components we have, because as part of everything we have in V3, pretty much everything was touched. So I'm going to go through a majority of these components. First of all, we did some major infrastructure updates to the V3 of the Graph Toolkit. The first thing we did is we updated our versions of our Graph JavaScript SDK. Why? So we can offer more capabilities as part of the client, but also so we can finally support sovereign cloud scenarios. These cloud scenarios are really important and are not something that you should be looking away from. Like if your customers are using sovereign clouds, are in the DoD or are in some GCC capabilities, you want to be able to leverage these components as part of that. We're also now supporting Node 14 and Node 16 as our base. We're waiting for SPFX to support Node 18 to fully switch to 16 and 18, but we're going to wait for SPFX to do that so we can live in the same ecosystem that SPFX is working with. Planning updates. All of our components, 100% of our components went through a refreshed UI entirely. It was all redone, and now we're all Fluent UI capabilities. It is built on the web components implementation of Fluent UI, or Fluent 2 that we call. But you're going to see it's very familiar to all of the rest of, if you've been using the latest versions of React for Fluent. basically the same look and feel. We're also improving a lot of the SharePoint framework development. One of the key signals or feedback that we got from the community on the MGT plus SPFX story was it worked amazingly well when you were the only web part on a page that was using the Graph Toolkit. In some cases, and actually in the majority of cases, that was the case, right? Now, beauty is you don't have to think about this. We have disambiguation. That's a feature. I'm going to talk about that. That is built in. That built-in capability allows every single web part to register their own names, and that way there is no collision. So that way there is no two MGT agenda on the same page. There's going to be an MGT Contoso agenda and an MGT Fabricam agenda. That way, you're not going to have to collide. It also improves our distribution capabilities because now you don't have to provide the library component that was helping with some of that in MGT. You just need to drop in your web part package, and that is it. You don't have to have another package. So if you're delivering apps via the store, way, 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 way better experience. So that's our kind of infrastructure. So let me go to the chat. I see there's a couple of questions. I think I answered the question around MGT and SPFX, which is great. Any plans for the MGT framework to be linked on the Fluent UI site? That's a good question. I'll have to think into it. That's a good point to showcase one of the realization of Fluent UI. I'll have a look into this. Thanks, Paul, for that. So now let's look at our components. What's new really in V3? What will you be able to play with that is totally different? First, we have a new set of scenarios that we support. The first one is theme toggling. It means that now you're going to have the ability to provide a theme toggle component to your app, and automatically you're going to be able to use light and dark, and it's going to automatically toggle it for you. And your page will automatically render, and your components will render in dark mode or in light mode. That's going to help a lot with theming and making sure, for example, in Microsoft Teams, that you stay in sync with the theming that exists in Microsoft Teams, for example. We're bringing a new picker component, which is a generic picker. Basically, think about it as a picker that can select any entity from any collections on Graph. It can be users, can be tasks, can be sites, can be list items, can be document libraries, can be anything. So we're really, really empowering devs to build picker experiences attached to any endpoint on Microsoft Graph. Taxonomy picker. And actually, I have the deck open just next to it. I'm going to do a small edit. I'm going to do this. There you go. How is cool to be able to do live editing of PowerPoint, right? The beauty here is that MGT is a fully open source project, and we built a really, really successful community around it. And Anoop from the community, which is an MVP, came to us and said, I think the toolkit would deserve a taxonomy picker, and is built on the taxonomy APIs on Microsoft Graph. So with Anoop, we designed it together. We had some sessions to make sure that we could brainstorm on how this could work. Anoop built the design, built the spec, built even the control, did a PR to us, and now it's going to be part of our V3 of the Graph toolkit. So not only this is extremely cool, this provides value for you developers to leverage this component to bring that. So that's really, really cool. We now also have a set of components, the search and the search box and the search results components that are now added to the mix of all the components for V3. In V3, for this one, it's going to be marked in preview. So it's still in the progress of being I wouldn't say fleshed out, but we're still identifying some scenarios that we want or do not want to support. But we're really excited to bring search capabilities, and we're going to do a little bit of a demo on that. But next week, I'll be back. And next week, I'll be back with a in-depth looking at the search scenarios because we really think that this really drives tons of value. So we're going to come back next week to talk specifically on the search capabilities. Improve scenarios, what we did. Now our login component, if you're building a SaaS app, for example, where you have a login button where you need to log in with M365, you will now be able to have multi-account support. So think about these scenarios where you want to switch from your admin account to your regular account, but being logged into the app, that is now possible. So you're going to be able to have multiple accounts logged in at the same time. What you see is only the current account data. We don't mash data together, but you're going to be able to go from one to the other, and caching will work. We're going to ensure that our tokens are the right ones. You're really getting the data you need. And finally, we're going to do in our person card some in context of sending messages. So the same way in Teams, you can hover on somebody and send them a quick chat straight from that card. We're bringing that to our person card. So why don't we look at the components that we have? Let me go here. I have my VM right there. Let me log into here, and I can actually share with all of you. I'm going to do that. You can go and hack around. This is our release candidate that is out there, that is available. You can play with it. You can hack with it. You can understand how the Graph Toolkit works today. So first control that I mentioned was the theming control, right? So let me go to our theme control here. And now you see, first thing that is really cool is we not only support setting it dark or light, but we also allow you to set it based on user preference in the browser. So automatically, you have the ability to automatically select dark or light based on the user preference. But I can just override it and say, hey, you know what? I want it light, or I want it dark. And every single component within a scope, is it the page? Is it an area of a page? Is it a specific component? You decide, will automatically turn light or dark based on this. So you're going to see that now all of our stories we have in our storybook have this component top right. So you can see them in both dark and light mode all the time. Well, that's really what it does. The beauty, though, is you can not only do it with the component, but you can do it without the toggle, right? How do you do that, right? So we have the ability to, we are exporting a function from the toolkit that allows you to apply a theme to a specific selector or to the entire page. So for example, this is my, I got my second login. If I look at the HTML here, it's 3 login components, one which is like this, one which I don't see my name right because it's like the background is white, so I don't see white on white. When I hover, you actually see it. And then we can apply it just for the login too. But if I was doing this, automatically they would all be login all the way. So that's really, really cool. Oh, there, yeah, 100%, Paul. There's a ton of things we learned throughout this. It's really, really cool. So second component that I wanted to showcase is our generic picker component. So let's go here. For example, we have a picker right there. So here, let me do this so it's easier for everybody to see. The picker component really plays a role similar to our MGT get component, which allows us to display any resource on Graph, and you handle the entire HTML. Here, it's kind of the same thing. We're actually reusing MGT get in the background, but here you have the ability to render any entities as a picker. So for example, here you can say, I want to get this resource. These are the scopes that I need. So I need tasks.read and tasks.readWrite to get access to it. So automatically, if I don't already consented to these scopes, I'll be prompted to go in. Here's the placeholder and the key name. So what do I want to show here as the title of the item? So for example, I can go here, and now you see that it automatically got from the to-do list here. It got my things here, and I can select it, and then I can get the selected value directly in JavaScript. For example, here, actually here, now that's not what I wanted to do. At the events here, I can actually go here. Give me a second. Interesting. I'm got a, wow. Tries to log me into something. Oh, I think I actually haven't. That's why. Wrong scenario here, but the same thing happened here. I can listen to the selected value right from there. I can limit the number of pages here. Accept this one here. There you go. So now, for example, I can select a message right from here. Would you select a message in a control like that? I don't know, but it's up to your scenario to define if it's something you want to do. So that's the second one. And think about how the different entities that exist on Graph. For example, you could even do me/join teams. Probably don't need the scope in that thing. And select the team. And the key name might be here title. I think the title. You know how when you display name a lot. So here now I just switched, and now you can select a team. So think about all the scenarios where you want to select something from Graph. This is all baked in, and we support caching, we support throttling management. All of that is baked into it. And just to prove it, also something really cool is all the dark mode is also supported. Now you see all of that color mode that is injected in all of our stories by default. Let's move on to another scenario, which is our taxonomy picker. So the taxonomy picker is a great component that allows you to look at, oh no, wait a second, I know why. Let me try something. I'm logged in here, so let me just try to do this, and that might actually work. Yes, it does work. So now you see here, we have a long list of terms. So let's say you're building a form where you want to tag something based on a term set or based on a term. Well, you will be able to do that. And what is really, really cool is you actually have the ability to set the term set ID, but also the term ID. So if you want to go down, and you also can, by default, select an ID. So when you're building a form, for example, it's going to be back. And the default capabilities will be there, and it's going to be already selected. So this is also built using our MGT picker capabilities. So when Anoop came to us, he saw our latest release, saw that the MGT picker was a great scenario to build a specialized picker for the taxonomy picker, and that's how we built it. Now I want to show you something else, which is around our search capability. So you're going to find that here in the preview section we have on Storybook, here we have our search box. Search box is not the most exciting capability we have, because it is a search box. Right now, there is no graph connections to the search box. You can think that in the future, when I'm going to click in the search box, you're going to be able to actually see a list of maybe my latest consumed resources, my latest documents, latest persons I've been talking with. But for now, it's not. So basically now it's just a search box that emits a search term. Somebody typed in something, here's the value. It's all controllable. So for example, I can go here and say, hey, I want the message to automatically be emitted after a 1,000 milliseconds for 1 second. So when you're thinking about some sort of autocomplete scenarios where you want to just type and not do enter, this also supports it. You can also preset the search term as part of this. So I would say it's a fairly simple component, but that drives the second one, which is our MGT search results component. And the MGT search results component is this one. So think about here where I want to showcase all documents, which is an entity type of drive item. I want to be able to fetch the thumbnail and my query string, aka my search term, is Contoso. And now automatically we're building for you an entire capability, an entire UI for search capabilities, all built in. This can be embedded in any of the apps that you're building, inside SharePoint, outside of SharePoint. That's really where the most of the value here is. So when you're thinking potentially, how does that compare to the PnP modern search? Well, this is basically a very similar capability using the same APIs, but that allows you to do these kind of things, not just in SharePoint, but outside of SharePoint in any type of SaaS apps or line of business applications. So that's really what I wanted to showcase around the new scenarios. Next week, we're going to go dive deeper in here on how we can customize this thing because it's really, really cool. Want to go on to our improved scenarios where we have our multi-account support. So let's go to my MGT login here. And let's do multi-accounts right here. Here we're faking it because I'm not logged in. We're actually using a sandbox environment that provides it. So here in the backend, we're actually providing some sort of multiple signed-in accounts and faking a lot of it. But the result is the following. Here, look at that. Now you see that we have a couple of accounts that are logged in. I can switch from one to the other. I can sign out from just a logged in account. I can also go here and sign with a third or a fourth or a fifth account. Right there, all the calls that are happening on the page to Graph are always based on the currently logged in user, which is really important. We don't want to mix data from one cache to the next and everything. So that was a big project for us, but it's super, super, super powerful when used in some scenarios. So that was one of our biggest asks we got from partners, building apps that are living outside of SPFX, because SPFX needs to live within the context of the current user, but other scenarios might not. So that's what we wanted to build here. So something that is coming is, well, that is there now, is that multi-account support. The last one is our in context of sending messages. So for example, now if I go to my person card, and so this will showcase my own person card. So I'm Megan. If I go here, it's going to load some of the added capabilities. I will not find a send message function here. Why? Because I'm Megan. I don't send myself messages, even if sometimes I actually do send myself messages. But in our case here, let's say, and I'm going to set a user ID here where we're going to actually have Emily here, where I will be able to send a quick message to Emily. Hey, Emily, thanks for your help. And I'm just going to send that, and automatically Emily will receive the message on her end, and we're going to be able to initiate a conversation via Teams. So if you're in an app, in an app where potentially you see these person components popping up here and there, you're going to be able to automatically use these things right there to continue the conversation and collaboration with all of these different users. So that was the demo that I wanted to do today. There's one more thing that I'd love to show you, and it's something that we are coming as part of that V3, is a new, we call it Hero app, that basically brings all the capabilities of the Graph Toolkit in a single application. So this is this app. It's part of our repo. It really showcases a lot of the ways to do things, a lot of the best practices. All of our theming capabilities are part of it. So it's something that is coming up in the next version of V3, where you will find actually a couple of components. So let me do a tour of all the components we have there, and then afterwards I'm going to be done with that demo. The first here is our search component that is shared across all of our different tabs. We have our login component right here on the right side. We have our theming component that was customized here to offer more than a toggle, but multiple different capabilities. We have here a dashboard. That dashboard is using our to-do component that allows you to go from one task list to the next. Interestingly enough, we are using, as part of this component, we're using our MGT picker. So you see how these things are working, right? We're always using capabilities that is available as part of our thing. So we are using the MGT picker as our selection for our task component. Here we have a get component, or a default get component that does call to a SharePoint list. That SharePoint list here has a couple of columns and these kind of things. And here we have the support of our person card with all the data, our org chart works with, and all these kind of things. Right from here, we have our mail and calendar. Mail is not a component we offer by default in the toolkit, but this is basically maybe 15 to 20 lines of code to actually make it happen with our get component. That's an example of using our get component in a really, really interesting scenario. On the right, we have our agenda component that allows you to see what's coming up in the next few days. We have our files component. Something we're working on right now is a renewed version of our files component you see here, which is a fully grid-based file component that allows you to go, for example, from one folder to the next. It offers breadcrumbs navigation, which is not there by default in our components. That's pretty cool. It also allows for creating shareable links, either editable or read-only, renaming, deleting, or downloading all of these files. So quite cool capabilities that are coming right here. A good example here is the use of our picker. This is our MGT picker that allows you to select, for example, a list or a document library where we can dynamically load the data right from here. We have our channel file, which is our channel picker. Let me do that. Loading, or it's not. I don't know why. Little hiccup during the demo that had to happen. And finally, we have our search components where we can go in here and say Contoso, for example, and automatically being redirected straight here. And we're going to talk about this specific component next week. So that's what I wanted to showcase for V3. How do you get V3? How do you get started with all of this? It's fairly simple. Let me go to ak.ms/mgt, where you're going to find all of our releases right here. And you're going to find the entire, there you go. That's the dot that I was missing. You're going to have all the how to install the release candidate, and stay aware. There might be a blog post coming up this week that we're going full GA, either end of this week or very early next week. We're in the last phases of doing that. So we're really, really, really excited. So I really invite all of you to go try it out, figure out if that fits your needs internally, that fits the needs of your customers and the partners you work with. And we're really excited to finally get this one done so we can go back to building even more awesome capabilities on the Graph Toolkit. So I'm going to go back and see if there was some questions. I saw that, Bo, you've been absolutely incredible answering some of that. Jim, does taxonomy picker show the hierarchy of the terms or just a flat list? It is a flat list that you can build in a cascading way. So it doesn't show the tree. It really, it's every level. So it's really cascading. The list of teams, the picker was unsorted, absolutely. The reason why it was unsorted is because the query that I asked the graph was unsorted. So I could actually do a sort on the endpoint that I'm using to get that done. Can we do templating in the search results? Yes, you can do templating at the search results level or even at the result type level. So that's really, really cool. Let's do it. It's cool to be able to do live answering. Yes, you can extend the person cards to display data sections from line of business apps. So you can absolutely do that. Do a custom template and do your calls as part of it. Bo, I corrected you. You were wrong, but that is okay. Thanks for trying. The last time we discussed, it was not possible. So that's why you had that info. Search is fully customizable. Cody, you haven't seen anything. Awesome. I think that there you go. I think that answers all the questions. Thanks, everybody.
Yep. I guess that's it for now. So as mentioned when we started the call, unfortunately, the second Planet demo for today has been cancelled. So the deep dive into science behind Power Automate Copilot will be covered later on this call. So we're just getting that scheduled. Unfortunately, that though also means that it's scheduled past the summer break. Again, we will be on a summer break on this Tuesday call from 1st of July until 22nd of August. So 22nd of August is the next call, and most likely we'll have that session on August 10. We will update the AKMS address, which is in the invite. When you're opening up the recurrent invite and click that one, point to a blog post, which will explain you the new timings and all of that stuff. So if you're using that to connect, that will remind you on the fact that we are on pause. Now, on Thursdays, every single Thursday, 7 a.m. Pacific time, and we also have a community call, and that keeps on executing throughout the summer. So we will not actually close that, but the Microsoft hosted call is on pause in summertime. Now, the last call before we go for that summer break is next Tuesday, 27th of June, and we have 3 demos. So Bob German is going to talk about Microsoft Teams App Camp New Adventure. There is an update on the Microsoft Teams App Camp, which is a learning exercise or initiative or a set of tutorials targeted for ISVs, and it's a really, really cool set of updates which Bob is going to go through. Then Seb is going to deep dive more details on the Microsoft Graph Toolkit search components, what you can do with them, how do they actually work. And then Paolo is going to show, Paolo is not actually a Microsoft employee, but Paolo is a vendor, and we've been working together on building a really cool Microsoft 365 solution with SPFX. He's been showing some of those techniques already in the previous calls, and we're going to close up that series with securely consuming Azure functions from Microsoft 365 solutions powered by SPFX on next Tuesday. Now, related on these calls and related on our community initiative in general, we would love to have feedback and we would love to understand what works, what doesn't work. We do apologize, for example, today's calls last-minute cancellation because the presenter wasn't available. There was something came up and he needed to actually cancel. But in general, please provide us feedback. What works, what doesn't work, how can it be improved? If you have good ideas for demos you would like to see, let us know. All of that information is super, super critical for us. We are creating these calls and delivering these calls for you. You are our core audience. So please let us know how we can improve. And as said, this recording will be available in 24 hours at Microsoft 365 Power Platform Community YouTube channel. Please subscribe there. That's the easiest way to follow up on when something is actually coming out. We are releasing every single business day new videos within our Microsoft 365 Power Platform Community YouTube channel. So a lot of stuff, and we already have more than 40,000 subscribers in that channel. So a lot of cool stuff is getting available there. Now, please follow up on us also in Twitter, or follow the updates in LinkedIn at AKMS /community/LI. That is a group in LinkedIn where we can have a discussion about the topics within the call. Next call, 27th of June, as mentioned, and that is the last call before the summer break, and we'll be back on 22nd of August. But let's save 9 minutes of our time. So thank you everybody for joining. Thank you for the feedback. Thank you for the lovely discussion and the interactive discussion again in the chat. We'll be back with later this week. First tomorrow, there's going to be the Power Platform monthly community call. Then on Thursday, we will have the Thursday series, and then next week, the last one before the summer break. But thanks everybody. Have a safe have an awesome rest of the week, and we'll be definitely in touch. Cheers. Thank you, Seb, one more time. Bye-bye.
Cheers, everybody. See y'all.